You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Chevrolet recently announced that they're starting to build, or I should say they're starting building their freshened Tahoe and Suburban full-size SUVs. Joining us now to dive into this and many other topics is Andy Guelcher, who's the president of Mohawk Chevrolet and chairman of the Chevrolet National Dealer Council. Just the guy we want to talk to about a lot of these different things that are happening out there in the marketplace. So Andy, thank you so much for joining us once again on the show.
Thanks, Jim.
Looks like, based on Automotive News reporting today, that that Chevy's doubling down on these big SUVs and saying, "Okay, watch out, we're going to be the leader here." Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Listen, they've done a really good job with the redesigns, and we have a very, very exciting lineup with refreshes this year in the internal combustion space. And a lot of that gets lost in the EV conversation. We forget that there's all these new models coming out, and there's a lot of things really to be excited about. And the large SUV space is certainly one of them.
Yeah, that's amazing when you think about it, especially with the price of gas and such. I see that some of these numbers are $80,000 for a completely loaded Suburban or SUV. You wonder, wow, we're sitting here 10 years from now, how much is a Suburban going to run? Have you felt that impact? Are consumers still okay with these numbers?
Yeah, listen, I think the broader economic, the feeling is that, the market's doing really well, and that upper echelon or that higher earner of customers is still in the market for those vehicles. So that certainly isn't hampering sales. It's actually helping them a little bit. It's never been the majority of the market. It's never going to be the majority of the market.
Yeah.
But to not serve those customers and not think that there's a future for those customers, I think is silly. And obviously GM agrees in what they're doing with the redesign. So I think it's a really good move on GM's part.
Yeah. It's a beautiful vehicle for sure. And needless to say, a number of the fleet companies out there, Uber and Lyft and what have you, that is like the official car. Whenever one pulls up for me, I'm like, okay, this is a nice car. It always feels like the Cadillac Escalade. It's hard to now even decipher between the two. I mean, that's how nice these Suburbans are, right?
Yeah, they've done a great job.
For sure. So talk to us about the rest of your business. I know that a number of dealers are I don't want to say crying the blues, but they're feeling as though it's not the same as it was a year ago or certainly 2 years ago. How is your business faring today?
Our business is faring well, and I think there's bright spots. There's pockets around the country that I think you'll find the same. I think you gotta focus in on what you want, and I think if you really focus in on profitability, we all have to understand that we're not going back to 2 years ago, like you said. Really fixed operations is going to be kind of the way forward, and really that's where the growth I think will come from. I think volumes will also rise in new and used vehicles, and as our SARs continue to climb, I think that's going to help with units in operation feeding our fixed operations, our service and parts departments. So I'm pretty bullish on that, and I think that's going to be a good Q4, and I think we're going to have a good Q1 and Q2 next year.
Good. And obviously, we're in the middle of a very heated presidential election. In fact, a number of different seats are up for grabs. But talk to me about that. Does that have much of an impact during this month and next month with regard to people saying, well, we're going to wait until we see who gets the White House? I'm not even so sure that really matters in most cases. But do you feel as though has an impact?
Well, I'm sure it's on some people's minds, right? But I think the macro theme and watching interest rates come down and watching the economy stabilize, and really you got to give a lot of credit to the Federal Reserve and what they've done. And we were sweating this hard landing for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it looks like, knock on wood, we're going to have a pretty reasonable type landing. And they've done a very great job mitigating the risk, as it relates to interest rates. So I think as interest rates continue to come down, there's some stabilization and the advertisements for the election kind of go away and it all starts to calm down again. I think that's just going to help us continue to grow, like I said, into Q1 and Q2. But it's certainly on some people's minds.
Yeah, for sure. Have you seen the rates coming down for retail contracts?
Yeah, indirect rates are definitely softening for retail contracts, which is great for the consumer, great for business overall, certainly good for floor plan, as the dealers know. So yeah. I think there's a lot of positives attached to that, yeah.
Yeah, and in November, we're supposed to be seeing more decreases, or more cuts. So that's even more good news, right?
Fingers crossed, yeah.
That's right. Hey, let me ask you, after your dealership's parody on The Office videos went viral, did you have any impact in business on that? They were phenomenal. We showed them here at CBT News, as you know, and interviewed you guys about it. But has that played much of a role?
It's funny. We actually got pretty granular in trying to measure attribution from the videos. And, you can dig into some comments on TikTok and Instagram and match them back to the CRM. And we have sold vehicles from those videos, but I would tell you that it's been more of a benefit for General Motors because they're the comments from people across the nation that have bought a Rado because of Grace or have engaged, with a General Motors dealership when maybe otherwise they wouldn't have. It's been really cool. And It's been cool to see the outcome of it, yeah.
They need to do an office about a car dealership. I mean, obviously it was a paper company before, but a car dealership, there's so much to work with there, right? There's so many different types of characters and departments and consumers, and it would really be funny if that turned into a show, Well,
I'll tell you what, Jim, we're actually working on that right now, so hopefully more to come there.
Wow, that would be really cool. That would be fantastic. So talk to me about, you're the chairman of the Chevrolet Dealer Council. What's on your to-do list to get done before the year runs out?
Before the year runs out, it's really important for us to communicate with the dealers and try to help GM help us with what the EV message and what the EV strategy is going to be going forward. And I know there's a lot of thought about who's in office is going to depend on, the way it goes forward. And a lot of these laws have been written. It doesn't matter who's coming in office next. It could be blue, red. It doesn't matter. These are written for years and years to come. And it really comes down to the states.
Yeah.
And CARB and, everything that goes with that. So I think it's us getting our arms around what's possible with EV realistically from a market share perspective, communicating that to dealers and getting everybody to row in the same direction, knowing that it's not going to be the majority of our business. It's a piece of it, but we have to be on the same page about how we're going to go to market. That's really the message for the rest of the year and to try to get everybody on board with that.
Sure. If you had Mary Barra listening, and maybe she does, I don't know, but if she was listening today, what do you think the target should be? And you probably shared this with Chevrolet, but when they come to you and say, how many EVs should we be building in terms of our production? What's your recommendation based on the sales of EVs currently?
I think that is really regionally specific or market specific. And I think you have to allocate those vehicles based on what the market share can be.
Sure.
And you can't really force this. It's really where you kind of get lost or you trip up a little bit is when you try to force market share by over incentivizing or filling up a dealer's lot. And I think that if we're strategic about how we do this from a regional perspective, we can kind of find those levels where it works for everybody. And I think that's what the message needs to be.
Yeah, right. Obviously, California is going to get more EVs than maybe somebody in Nebraska or on a rural area of Ohio or what have you, right?
Yeah, and it's tricky too because you're going to have to meet those greenhouse gas standards for the credits.
Yeah. So
you're going to have to sell a certain amount, but it goes to finding where you can fill those buckets to really get to the amounts you need to achieve those credits.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, President Trump is all about tariffs, for vehicles that are coming in, parts, whatever it might be. What's your take on that? What if he recaptures the White House and that goes into effect? Is that a concern of yours? I mean, I guess there's good and bad about it, but
it is. I was in Brazil a few weeks ago and saw some of the Chinese, EV franchises that are down there. BYD, Great Wall Motors.
Yeah.
And their speed to market is terrifying. I'll be very, very frank with you. It's terrifying how fast they can bring a car to market. I think the tariffs are a good thing, but it's a temporary thing and it won't last forever. So I think that what we need to do is focus on research and development in our own OEMs and our companies to make sure that whatever the next cycle of this looks like, we're out in front of it because we are quite frankly behind right now. And we really need to focus on technologies and getting out in front of what they have done over the past 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
You remember the last time they came in, it was kind of like, it wasn't serious. It wasn't a great car. There are tons of quality issues. And it was kind of, this is not really a competitor. That is not the case anymore. And we need to focus on getting to where we can be competitive with the Chinese EV manufacturers.
That's right. For the Chevrolet dealers that are listening, there's a great number of them. What's your message to them? What do you need them to do in order to help your efforts as the chairman of the Dealer Council?
Keep providing feedback. Understand that we have opportunities in front of us, no doubt, but there is a lot of positive momentum behind us. And I know that we're not going back to the glory days of 2022, 2021, but there's really so many things that we can focus on to improve our businesses, and we need to keep the main thing. And that for now and for the foreseeable future is going to be ICE by a volume percentage. We have a great lineup coming. We need to get our arms around each other and support all those great things that we're doing and figure out in the interim how we sell enough EVs to earn the credits to be able to keep selling ICE in all the 48 contiguous U.S. states.
Sure, sure. Andy Guelcher, I'm going to leave it right there because that was a perfect message. So, president of Mohawk Chevrolet, as well as chairman of the Chevrolet National Dealer Council, thank you so much for spending some time with us here at CBT News. Very much appreciate it. I know that our Chevy dealers will definitely appreciate it as well. So, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim. Much appreciated. Good to see you.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.